Is this the biggest competitor for the iPad? I can't say with full authority that the iPad is the best tablet on the market because I haven't tried every single iPad competitor. However, I think given the combination of the Apple ecosystem, amazing hardware design, hardware that lasts years and years and years, and iPad OS, which is just fantastic despite a few flaws that I've talked about in the past, it's pretty much unbeatable. So imagine my surprise when Google entered the fray with the Pixel tablet, and I discovered that I really like it. But there are loads of questions. How good is the Pixel tablet at being a tablet versus the iPad? And when you combine this with its charging speaker dock, does it become a more tantalizing proposition for your home than the iPad? There's a lot to answer, and if you're wondering, I'm comparing the Pixel tablet against the 10th generation iPad because that's about right in terms of pricing and specs and stuff. So let's get into it. Before we get started, just a very quick word from today's sponsor, which is Benks, and I want to show you two fantastic products. The first one is this, the Infinity Pro stand. If you've got an iPad Pro or an iPad Air, then you need one of these. It is absolutely beautiful. If you've never used an iPad stand before, just get one, trust me. It makes the iPad so much more versatile and useful. The Infinity Pro stand is made from aluminium, so it looks very Apple-like. It also has 360-degree rotation thanks to this base that swivels. And you can have your iPad in either landscape or portrait format, and it flattens completely. So there you go, done. Stick it in your bag, take it to sales demonstrations, take it to customer meetings, coffee shop, whatever you do with your iPad. Trust me, the Infinity Pro stand will make a massive difference. The next thing that you really have to check out is the Benks stylus pen. The second generation Apple Pencil is 140 quid. This one from Benks is £40. It even charges the same, so it attaches magnetically to the top of your iPad Air or your iPad Pro, and it benefits from a charging light as well, so you can see when it's charging. And that light doubles as a button as well, so you can use it to go back to your home screen or bring up the app switcher in iPad OS. It's really functional. It doesn't have pressure sensitivity, but it's £100 cheaper, and trust me, it's just as well made as the Apple version and feels just as responsive on the screen. So to find out more about the Infinity Pro stand and that fantastic stylus pen, just click the link below. Let's start with pricing between these two tablets. The pricing is based on the storage that you choose, so the bigger the storage, the bigger the price. And this is actually the first biggest differentiator between these two devices because the Pixel tablet starts with 128 gigabytes of storage, whereas the 10th generation iPad starts with 64. The pricing does reflect that to a degree, so in the UK, the Pixel tablet starts at $599, whereas the 10th generation iPad starts at $499. When it comes to increasing the storage, there's only one other option for both of these tablets, and it's the same. It's 256 gig. And price-wise, that takes the Pixel tablet up to $699 and the 10th generation iPad up to $679. So on the face of it, the 10th generation iPad gives you a bit more value for money if you spend the maximum amount, whereas the Pixel tablet is just a bit more generous with its base spec. However, we should note at this stage that the Pixel tablet comes with the charging speaker dock completely free of charge at the moment. That might change, don't hold me to it, but at the time of filming, which is July 2023, you get this free of charge. The iPad comes with nothing apart from a charging cable and charging brick, but you don't get any free accessories from Apple. They don't do that. You cannot get away with a lackluster display on anything these days, but particularly tablets, because they're such big displays. They need to be bright, vibrant, sharp, and responsive. And clearly, Google and Apple are very aware of this because there's very little to separate these two devices when it comes to the display. They do use different technology, so the Pixel tablet has an LCD display, whereas the 10th generation iPad has Apple's Liquid Retina, they love their names, Liquid Liquid Retina LED display. There is a slightly higher pixel count on the Pixel, which has 276 ppi versus 264 ppi, but the resolution on both of these is pretty much identical, so they look as sharp as each other. They both have 60Hz refresh rate displays, so they don't have 120Hz dynamic smooth refresh rates, but you don't get that at this price point. The big difference is the aspect ratio, which is basically the kind of size of the screen. The iPad sticks with Apple's tried and tested 4x3, which makes it fairly wide and fairly tall, but not too much in either direction, whereas the Pixel tablet, as you can see, looks very different. And the reason for that is because this has a 16:10 aspect ratio, which makes it very tall. That's good if you have it in landscape, I think, for watching movies and that sort of stuff, because it's got much more of a widescreen feel to it. So we've got two 11-inch-ish displays here, which are pretty much identical in every way. The only other thing that I need to mention about the iPad relates to another supporter of this channel, which is Paperlike. And with the Paperlike screen protector, you can basically attach something to the front of this screen, which you barely know is there, but it does two things. It protects the screen, obviously, but it also turns it into a much better writing and drawing surface. If you've never used a Paperlike screen protector before, trust me, it is absolutely amazing, and it's another very important point of differentiation between these two devices. Because with the iPad, you can attach that Paperlike screen protector and use the first generation Apple Pencil to turn it into a fantastic drawing and note-taking device. You can't do that with the Pixel tablet. So if drawing and writing and being really creative with your tablet is your thing, then the 10th generation iPad out of these two devices is the one to go for, but please check out the Paperlike. I'll put a link in the description below. Okay, let's talk about specs, and both of these devices are powered by their company's own silicon. So in the 10th generation iPad, we have the A14 Bionic. In the Pixel tablet, we have Google's Tensor G2 chip. I don't do benchmarks, you're not going to get that from this video. In general use, in normal everyday tablet use, which most people undertake with these things, they feel identical. They're very fast, very smooth. They're both running completely stock versions of their operating systems, obviously with iPad OS, but certainly with the Pixel tablet, you're getting the purest version of Android for any tablet. When it comes to RAM, the Pixel tablet has 8GB and the 10th generation has 4GB. Again, does that make any difference if you're just using these as regular tablets for normal tablety stuff? No. When it comes to battery life, it's a similar story. So the Pixel tablet has 12 hours versus the 10 hours quoted for the 10th generation iPad. But in practice, they are both all-day batteries. The Pixel tablet has a 1080p 8-megapixel camera on both the front and the rear. 10th generation iPad has a 4K capable 12-megapixel camera on the rear and a 12-megapixel selfie camera on the front, which is compatible with Center Stage, which is this fantastic software-driven thing, which basically, if I'm doing like a FaceTime call with my mum on here, and then my girlfriend comes into the frame, the iPad recognizes her and then pans out to include both of us. It's a brilliant feature. So if the camera system is a big thing for you and you might find yourself using the rear camera on your tablet quite a lot, the iPad is hard to beat. In terms of big differences between these two devices, there's two, and one of them plays in the iPad's favor. That is the ecosystem. Put simply, if you've got an iPad, an iPhone, an Apple Watch, a Mac, and a pair of AirPods Pro, they all talk together perfectly. At the moment, Google can't match that. They do have an ecosystem, obviously, but it's just not as complete or as tried and tested as the Apple ecosystem. So if you're an Apple person, just get this. However, the second massive difference between these two devices is this. You see, the Pixel tablet isn't just a tablet. As soon as you put it on this docking station, it becomes a home assistant. And it does that by using the speaker system in here and turning on a bunch of hub mode features in Android to give you this great big 11-inch display Google Assistant experience. And I absolutely love it. And this has two huge benefits. The first one is that display. So if you're used to a home assistant like Amazon or the HomePod, which is just this kind of speaker with a light on the top of it, you don't get much apart from audio feedback. With this, you get visual feedback. So if you set a timer or a bunch of timers, you can see how long is left on those timers on the display rather than asking for that. If you ask for driving directions, you get a Google map. If you ask a question about is insert name of celebrity here still alive, you get a nice little fact sheet about them on the right hand side. If you ask it to play music, you get all the album art and the ability to walk over and skip tracks. It's such a better experience. The second benefit is that the speaker dock charges the Pixel tablet, so while it's sitting there being your very helpful home assistant, it's also topping up the battery. And that means it's always ready to go. That's a big problem with iPads if you don't use them very often, or if you use them sparingly compared to your phone. 9 times out of 10, when you come to them, they're completely dead. There's no battery life left. That was a big thing behind the development of this solution for it by Google. They think that by having this as this permanently docked tablet, you'll use it more because it's always charged. Now, in practice, that works to a degree because it is always charged, but equally because it's so useful in this docked form. In our house, we don't tend to use it as a tablet very often. That makes it quite an expensive home assistant with a display, but knowing that you can take it off and use it as a very competent tablet is a nice thing to have in your back pocket if you've got the budget for this kind of thing. Now, I would love to see Apple do something like this, and there have been rumours about a display-equipped Siri device at some stage. The big problem with this is Siri, which is terrible, whereas Google Assistant is fantastic. We've not had any issues with this at home at all. So until Apple improves Siri, if you're looking for a complete do-it-all tablet that can also be a very good home assistant, this is the one to buy. I would love to know which of these two tablets are you going to go for, and more importantly, why? Let me know in the comments. And if you've still got some time and you want to see my full thoughts on the Pixel tablet, keep watching for my full review.